Us get started with our webinar on growing up with the Gita. So there's so many layers to the Bhagavad Gita, and growing up in America, it's often lost on us what the Gita is, how to apply it. And there's so many layers to teenagers, being a teenager and struggling with questions of identity, self-worth, where is our place in the world? Not just teenagers, but I think a lot of us older folks even struggle with it. We're especially teenagers navigating complex relationships with family, friends, teachers, society. We're all encountering conflicts and challenges in communicating and understanding, and of course, emotions, right? Going through that whole process of growing up. So complicated, so difficult. And in this webinar, we're going to be talking about growing up with the Gita, a course, actually, an introductory course designed for teenagers and youth, and also talking about the Gita Pariksha. It's a test, Gita Pariksha, that encourages participants to learn about the Gita and then also share it. And there's going to be a prize pool of $25,000 for that exam that's coming up. But in this webinar, we're going to have Anirudhji, our 12-year-old guest. I'll give him a quick introduction, talk about his experiences with the Gita, how it's helped him, affected him. And then, of course, we're going to have Swami Brahma Saraswati Ji, who's going to give us more of a background on the Gita and take questions, and from the academic perspective, get into it. If you haven't yet, please put in the chat where you are zooming in from, and I will give you a little shout out. Now, let me introduce Anirudhji first. He's actually 12 years old from Fremont, California, as he mentioned. He's actually memorized the entire Bhagavad Gita, the 700 shlokas. And he's had the privilege of presenting his Avadanam, all right, his super memory test in the Bhagavad Gita skills on several stages nationally and internationally. His unique skill of reciting the Gita in any given permutation and combination has amazed many stalwarts in the field. He's only in 7th grade, but he's rising. He loves to play sports, does artwork. As his passion, he volunteers at the local VT Seva chapter. And his passion is to preserve and protect the gem Bhagavad Gita for future generations. I'm just going to give Swami Niji a short introduction and get into it later. But Swami Brahma Saraswati is a faculty at HUA. She's been doing a lot of work. I'll introduce her properly before she speaks. But first, we're going to hand it to our young guest, Anirudhji. And he's going to give us some background and maybe just start with, if you want to introduce yourself further, but also what brought you to the Bhagavad Gita? How did you get into it? What's your journey been? And we can start there.
Yeah, thank you for the introduction. Namaskaram, everyone. It is my honor to be able to present about the Bhagavad Gita today. As he said, my name is Anirudh Kohli, and I am a rising 7th grader from Fremont, California. So my journey started when I was 2 years of age. My brother joined a shloka class, and I was really interested in that. So sometimes I used to say shlokas along with him, and my mom saw a spark passion in me. So she joined me in that class when I was 3.5 years old. And through that class, I learned honesty, gratitude, and the correct way of speech. And when I was 8 years old, I was playing a game in the living room, which I didn't do every day, but I did some days. And my mom just came into the room. She asked me if I wanted to join a class about the Bhagavad Gita. She said it would be just like story time. And I was like, sure, if it's just story time, why not? And I had no idea what I was getting into. So when I went to the first class and they were teaching the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the shlokas, I was mind boggled. Like, I had no idea what was going on. But since I already committed to it, and since I had put my mind to it, I just went through with it and did all 700 shlokas of the Bhagavad Gita. It took me about 6 to 8 months, and after that, my mom was like, okay, since you've already come this far, why not just do it in different permutations and combinations called an Avadanam? And I was like, sure, why not? Yeah, I came this far anyway, right? And just like that, just like Lord Krishna said in chapter 2, sloka 47, Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturbhuhu ma te sangostva karmani. He says, do your action 100% and do not put your focus on the output. You have to persevere to get anything you want in life. And after that, I was able to learn I was able to learn the Bhagavad Gita in Avadhanam style, which was really, really hard, and it took me a long time. But the Bhagavad Gita taught me that I had to commit myself, and if I commit myself, I have to follow through no matter what. It took me about 2 years, but I think it was really, really worth it because I made a lot of friends, and my gurus helped me all along the way. And here's why the Bhagavad Gita is still relevant now. Okay. Mental health is one of the biggest issues in the world right now. But Bhagavad Gita provides a prescription and emotional strength for people that are going through mental health. Like, I'm sure you guys have all heard about the Oppenheimer movie, but did you know that he used to hand out Bhagavad Gita books to everyone he met? And that's why he didn't die while doing his project. And he was called the father of the atomic bomb, and it's quite crazy what he did. But because he handed out the Bhagavad Gita to everyone, it may have balanced out his karma, or maybe at least made his karma a bit less. And even though the Bhagavad Gita was said 5,000 years ago, it's still valid to this day. Because Krishna said it to Arjuna when he was depressed. But you can see how many people are depressed now in this day and age. So, of course, it would still be valid. And like me, I learned a lot of slokas, but you don't have to be like me. You can just read it and you can just understand the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. Like, you can just understand the meaning. You don't have to learn all of the 700 slokas of the Bhagavad Gita. How should you do the Bhagavad Gita? Or how should you do anything you're doing? Just like Lord Krishna said in chapter 6, sloka 17, everything must be in moderation. Food, sleep, activities, and only then can you focus on your task. This shloka is Yuktahara viharasya yukta cheshtasya karmasu yukta swapnavabodhasya yogo bhavati dukkhaha. What did I learn from the Bhagavad Gita? When you have a guru, you'll always be better off than people that don't have gurus. Like, look at Arjuna and Duryodhana. Arjuna was in depression. He was like at the bottom of the line. And but instead of crumbling, he got the help of Krishna, who was a great guru, and he elevated himself and he found a way in life. But Duryodhana, he was also in sorrow, but he didn't have a right guru, so he crumbled. Because you have to have a right guru to be able to elevate yourself in life. And sadly, my grandfather passed away when I was around 8 or 9 years old. But just like they say in chapter 2, sloka 23, Nainam chindanti sastrani, Nainam dahati pavakaha, na chainam kledayantyapo, na soshayati marutaha. I knew it was just the body that passed away and not the soul. So I was able to console my cousin who was 6 years old at the time. And he felt a lot better when I told him that, because even he reads a lot of devotional books, and he also knows that it was just the body and not the soul. The soul will keep on going forever. And this Bhagavad Gita is like a gem to our Indian community and everyone else in the world too. So we have to protect it and preserve it and pass on this knowledge to the next generation. I think it is all of our responsibility. Namaskar. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Anirudhji. That's inspiring. Definitely better than me. Great to hear. Thank you so much for that, and looking forward to, working with you and seeing what you do in the future as well. We also have Girdharaji from Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Thank you for joining. Anybody else want to put in the chat where you're zooming in from, and I can give you a shout out. And now I shall introduce Swamini Brahmapragyananda Saraswati ji. She's a PhD, traditional and contemporary teacher of Advaita Vedanta. She's a Hindu monk. She has completed a 3.5-year course in Vedanta and Sanskrit back in 2013 at the Arsha Vidya Gurukulam under the tutelage of Pujya Swami Dayananda Saraswati ji. And she studied 12 years before that. And she's been balancing studying and work commitments. She's done so much. And the specific one that I want to tie and bring up in terms of her experiences, she spent, 15 years on various projects in India, helping kind of street children. She ended that commitment as the country director of India for Railway Children. It's an actual UK international organization, and she helped 15,000 street children. And I don't know if that's appropriate term or how we're talking about, but kids, on the street annually. And with that kind of context, just looking at the Bhagavad Gita, seeing our young person, Aniruji here, and trying to connect the dots a little bit, the Bhagavad Gita, how it can benefit young people, but then how do we as older folks also tie it in, and then other lessons that you may want to bring into it. So Swami Niji, with that kind of nebulous introduction, let me hand it to you, Swami Niji, to take us to this next part of the webinar.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ankur. I just want to get a sense of the people who've joined us today. Are they all under 25, or do we have any idea?
Yeah, maybe you could put in the chat if you want, but a lot of regular kind of HOA folks. I don't think we have a lot of youngsters joining us today. If you are, please do put in the chat where you are joining in from. But I think we have more of our regular kind of HOA attendees, not necessarily young folks. Oh, we got Tejas 13. Great.
Oh, welcome, Tejas. Okay, great. So then I'll keep it, applicable for all ages then. Right. Okay. It always helps to know background. Okay. So we will invoke the grace of Bhagwan Krishna before we begin. Om Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagat Gurum. So we offer our namaskar to Bhagwan Krishna, who not only was a teacher to Arjuna, but who was and is Jagat Guru, the teacher for the entire world. And the rest of the verse has some description regarding one or two incidents about his life. So people are familiar with the Gita, and I'm guessing there is a range of familiarity. So we can start with a PowerPoint, actually. Okay. So perhaps you'll have seen this, perhaps not. I think it's a very nice image which talks about our busy life. And at every age and stage, there is so much going on that one may not be inclined to approach the Gita. And even if somebody suggests it to us, we will just dismiss it. So of course, when you're a toddler and, running to school and stuff, then of course one is too young to read or understand, or even if somebody is talking about the Gita, we're still too young. Then the focus is largely on artha, and artha is a valid pursuit. So the Veda recognizes and actually has a lot of rituals for us to increase our wealth and prosperity. But then for much of our youth, we're focused on maximizing our potential, and rightly so, and maximizing our net worth. There is a term, what is that? High net worth individuals, right? HINI or something like that. So we are so focused on only wealth and prosperity that one doesn't obviously need the Gita. And then what shall we say when we are romantically involved? So it's great to have a romantic partner. Sometimes we can be so consumed only by that person that our whole attention is focused on pleasure, companionship, and security from that person. Then, of course, when one is at work and deadlines, and I never use the word deadline. It's a timeline. It's not a deadline. Okay. And but we just internalize what has been imposed on us. So of course there's no time. And if you live in a place like Mumbai, where people spend so much time commuting, so one is so exhausted by the end of the day that there's no energy to do anything pretty much. So you're too tired, and for us, relaxation is all about the weekend. We have not learned how to relax during the week. And here I don't mean relaxation as collapsing on the couch. So just a contemplative mind. And then, of course, some aches and pains and health issues arise nowadays much earlier in life than later. And so one is busy dealing with health issues. And of course, there's no time, no attention, no leisure to look at the Gita, right? So all I'm highlighting is that while all our pursuits are valid, the pursuit of pleasure, pursuit of wealth, prosperity, even operating from an ethical framework, dharma, which has many meanings, all that is important. But the Gita is such a treasure that it can help me be happy at all times, in all places, in all situations. And I just expect that only my partner or my work will make me happy. So the important pursuit called moksha, which is what everyone seeks, because everyone wants to be happy at all times, in all places, in all situations. Nobody says, oh, you know what, today I've had enough of being happy. I don't want any more. Please don't do this. Don't give me any more happy news. Nobody says that. So we just want to return to what is our natural nature, which is to be at peace with everything. So this pursuit, perhaps Gita has something to offer. So some obvious things. Although it is Bhagwan Krishna who reveals the teachings, this is called Bhagavad Gita. It is not Krishna Gita. And this is important because it is Bhagavan who, and he himself says in the 4th chapter, so whenever there is a decline in dharma, yada yada hi dharmasya, so then I will come as an avatara. I will incarnate. We know it has 700 verses spread across 18 chapters. It's bang in the middle of Mahabharata, which has 1 lakh verses, 100,000, and put together by Bhagavan Veda Vyasa. So now, if Bhagwan Krishna and Arjuna are having a conversation, why should we be interested? Isn't it bad manners? Like you are eavesdropping on someone having some conversation, and that too, it gets reported. So then, they just chatted with each other, and then of course they had the war, and then that should be enough. But no, because that was a life transforming dialogue, not only for Arjuna, but for millions and millions of people across generations. And so we begin with the first verse. Dhritarashtra uvacha dharma kshetre kurukshetre samaveta yuyotsavaha mamaka pandavaschaiva kimakurvata sanjaya. So I'm guessing that most people have the background of the battlefield and how the battle and the war came about between the Pandavas and the Kauravas. So despite all best attempts to broker peace, there was no chance. Duryodhana could have easily said, I need therapy. I am so consumed by jealousy, and I have been plotting my whole life to kill the Pandavas. There is something wrong. And but he didn't do that. He so as a series of events unfolded, Arjuna is in the middle of the battlefield. He asks for Bhagwan Krishna to be his charioteer, driver. And he says, just so that I have a strategic view, please take me to the middle of the battlefield. And the whole first chapter is building the context. And it's a very important context because we get to see what happens to an highly accomplished warrior like Arjuna, who, despite being so competent, despite being so ready for war, is hit by the futility of his position. Because he says, even if we win, our hands are going to be stained with blood. If we lose, then people will make fun of us and we will become infamous. So what we have, our honor that has been so important, all of that is, going to be in ruins. So I am stuck. And this dharma kshetra is a very important word with which the Gita begins the teaching, that our mind, our being pretty much is a dharma kshetra, meaning it is a sadhana, it is a means for me to perform dharma. But it's not easy, it's never easy, because there are always conflicts. The whole day you wake up and there are conflicts and there are choices to be made. Some of the choices are easy and a lot of them are very difficult. So whether one is 15 or 45, how I want to navigate my family relationships, or if one is a teenager, then thinking through what kind of course I want to do, what is the career I want to build, which are the friends I should hang out with, which are the friends I should avoid. My parents don't like X and Y friends, but I love them. What shall I do? Shall I lie to my parents, or shall I tell them but then always get into negotiation with them about me being given the permission to hang out with them? So basically, how I live throughout my day, the actions that I do, the people that I meet, how I interact with them. And if one has a girlfriend or boyfriend, then again, if indeed one has choices, or even if one doesn't have a choice, you are kind of in a committed relationship, but then somebody else appears very attractive to you, or one is always insecure about your partner finding someone else attractive. And so all the time there are conflicts, there are choices. And what shall we say about how much to use social media? It's become a necessary aspect of our lives. And we, despite what do you call that, digital wellness, And so setting notifications, stopping notifications. It's always so tempting to, look at one more tweet or look at one more post or whatever it is on whichever social media one is. So the reason Gita becomes so important is that as long as human beings live, because we have been given the freedom of choice, we will face conflict between what is right, what is wrong, and we want to align with what is right. And so the Gita, at the end of every chapter, there is a mention, it is Brahma Vidya and Yoga Shastra. So Brahma Vidya is really self-discovery, or the knowledge of oneself as Brahman, the limitless reality. And self-mastery is another theme. These two themes, self-discovery and self-mastery, they are woven very beautifully across the Gita. So self-mastery is really Yoga Shastra, basically how to live my life. What are the values, what are the attitudes that I want to have in my life so that I live a relatively happy life. So I will share some 10 lessons from the Gita, 10 teachings. And what I want to highlight is that at any age and stage of life that one is, the Gita is a companion for you, because Bhagwan is your companion for life, not only life, lifetimes. And the beauty is that it is the dialogue between not only Krishna and Arjuna, but it's really between Bhagwan and the individual, the Jiva. Arjuna is like all of us. He's called upon to do something, but he doesn't want to do. And this is our situation almost every day. Okay. Of course, thankfully, we don't have to fight a war, but we fight all mini battles in our head and also externally. So one important takeaway from the Gita is that we want to move from being a victim to an achiever. Some of us will get to the level of a master. And as you see this girl, a lot of us are here, okay? And it doesn't matter, it's not age dependent. So why did my parents divorce? Why do my parents not give me the permission to do X? And even like obviously I interact with different age groups. So even like a 75-year-old will say that my children, they have so many instructions for me, especially after COVID. Do not go here, do not go there, always wear a mask. And then there's a list that comes. So they treat me like a child and I feel victimized by all of this. I can't handle it. Okay. So irrespective of age and stage, we go through this kind of victim thinking that we're not in touch with our resources, both internal and external. And the only way out is to claim the three Shaktis that we have all been given. So all of us, and Bhagavan Krishna talks about it in the Gita as well, that everyone, every moment has been given the Shakti to desire. So Ichha Shakti, the power to desire, want, will, wish, the power to know, Jnana Shakti, and the power to do, Kriya Shakti. This is given to an ant also. So an ant who wants a chocolate crumb, who is crawling from one end of the room to one end of the table to the other. So, wants definitely the chocolate crumb, crawls, so has Ichha Shakti and Kriya Shakti. Then finds chocolate crumb is so big, Abba, I cannot carry this. And some ant will come along and then I don't know if you've noticed, ants can collaboratively carry that chocolate crumb back to wherever they want to take it. So is able to use Jnana Shakti that, hey, this is too heavy for us. We need to collaborate. So like that, we find different ways to cope. And this is all about taking responsibility for one's karma. Karma is a choice-based action that is only done by human beings. However much loyal your dog is, your dog cannot gain punya or papa that is a result of karma. Karma is only for human beings. So, by taking charge of our lives, stop being a victim, and tapping into our Shaktis, we are able to achieve a lot. And Gita again and again highlights that you take responsibility for your karma. Even if you are experiencing any suffering, know that your karma from previous lifetimes or even this lifetime is coming back, and then, reality does bite. So only after you have been through some achievements can one see the limitation of it. So it's important to have been there, done that. And then you always wonder, is this all? Like, I've ticked all the boxes, I've got whatever I needed, and whatever society thought I should have, but is this all? And if you are, more in your 30s and 40s, then, you would get into systematic learning of the Gita and learn to be a spiritual warrior. So you are on the top of everything. You learn to be a contributor to society, and also, learn the Gita. So Swami Chinmayananji used to say this: have you gone through the Gita, or has the Gita gone through you? And then that's a very well said statement, because Gita is not a text. In any case, all this is oral tradition, but one wants to be able to see one's life in the light of the Gita. And so, of course, when the learning is assimilated, then one can become a master. So this karmani eva adhikaraha, this even Anirudh chanted it. A very important verse, and a very misunderstood verse also, especially the fact that do not have expectations. If you ask me the question, how to not have expectations in life, you expect that I will answer your question, least minimum. Already you have an expectation. If you put a morsel of food in your mouth, of course you expect it to go into your esophagus and not into your lungs. Okay, so any action we do it because we expect, and that's not the problem. The problem is that I believe I can control the result of every action, and obviously I can't, because I have not made the laws of nature. So that the laws of nature are all pervaded by Bhagwan, and that is something for us to discover. So therefore, what shall I do? Okay, fine, if I have to take responsibility for my karma, then how to decide what to do, what not to do? So Gita very clearly, and not only Gita, but a lot of our Shastra tell us that, what really makes you happy? It is dharma. No, but I don't think so. I like Taylor Swift because she is so prolific, or she is so innovative, or her songs reflect companionship. That's exactly the point. So what you're saying is you value companionship, you value love, you value innovation, you value hard work, and you see that in her. And so anyone you appreciate, anyone you look up to, anyone who is your role model, if you really look at what you value, adore, respect, appreciate, it is dharma. And what Bhagwan Krishna tells us is, what? This dharma, I am sitting in your heart. Okay, you can refine your understanding of dharma, but the principle of reciprocity, that I do not want to be hurt, you do not want to be hurt, is ingrained in all of us. That I want to be accepted, you want to be accepted, again, ingrained in all of us. And so he mentions a lot of qualities which are mental dispositions. And the interesting part, he says towards the end, that all of these, whether it is fear, whether it is ahimsa, or samatha, and equanimity, the sense of being satisfied, and so on, they are all from me, matta eva. So we may lament, oh, I hope, I wish I didn't have fear, etc. But you know what? Fear is given to you. It's not something you invented. Of course, you can calibrate the fear and so on and so forth, but it is given to you. It has a protective mechanism. We definitely want you to be afraid when you are approaching the edge of a cliff, all for the sake of the selfie. So if you didn't have fear, we would have lost you forever. So, it's very important. So all these different qualities, different mental disciplines, they're all there. And the way one performs karma is to see how best we can take the situation forward. So what is it that I can do in my different relationships with my friends, with my peers, with my professors, with my parents, brother, sister, etc., that I can contribute to their happiness and well-being? Because that's what dharma is all about, because it makes everyone happy. The third takeaway I want to dwell on, which Bhagavad Gita brings very beautifully into our lives, is the understanding of Bhagavan. So when I was a child, I used to have this weird idea that Bhagavan is someone who wears a white robe and has a white beard. I don't know from where it came, a series of stories, and we all have these ideas. And I had done a podcast on this. We have to rescue God from our own ideas. So our ideas about a lot of things change, but sometimes we can get stuck on our idea of God as it was in childhood. And Bhagavan in the Gita very clearly says, Aham Krishnasya Jagataha, that this entire world of names and forms, I am that. I am that. All that you see, all that you experience, it has all come from me. It is all sustained by me. And it will also resolve into me, Pralaya. And what would you feel for someone who has always been with you, not only this life, but lifetimes, who has actually given you the very body that you have because of the laws of nature, who helps to fructify your karma? And that is what unfolds as different situations during the day. Who is every breath you take, not sting. Literally every breath you take, Vayu is Bhagwan. And then water, all the things that make up this body, mind, so Pancha Mahabhutas, all of that has come from Bhagwan. And so our very living and all permutations, combinations of different names and forms, it's all given to us. So just like if you want to date someone, or you want to see if you're compatible, what will you do? Obviously, you will spend time with the person, you will get to know the person, you will listen to what the person has to say, you will share what's on your mind and so on. And then as there is greater understanding, greater compatibility, then you find that, I think I feel very special about this person. And maybe I love, I'm not quite sure, but definitely there's a lot of affection, there's a lot of trust. That's exactly what we do when we approach the Gita, because you are spending time with Bhagwan. And it's a date if you are attending a class. So you are being exposed to the teachings of the Gita, what Bhagwan has to say. You're not just stuffing a laddu in his mouth and say, you know what, I think you are good to be kept at a distance. I will worship you, but just don't say much. I'll just put a laddu in your mouth. Okay. So I'm not interested in what you have to say, but once in a way, Janmashtami, we can do some puja for you. No, I am interested in getting to know Bhagwan. And then the people who, of course, go through the Gita, find it life transforming. See, one of the things that is missing in modern psychology is that there is not much talk of God or even dharma. And that's why one can endlessly be in therapy, one can endlessly be in self-care. And then what happens is you become critical of yourself. So you always wonder, am I doing enough? Am I accepting enough? And all the time evaluating oneself. But when you have, or rather one's relationship with Bhagwan deepens, then one understands the law of karma better. One learns to come to terms with a lot of things that have happened in one's life. And you get a lot of insights, and you always feel very supported and cared for. So then how to live life? Arjuna was okay, he was a warrior. And the interesting thing about Bhagwan Krishna is that he didn't say, shut up, Imagine what an opportune or inopportune time to ask Bhagwan and to tell Bhagwan Krishna, I'm not going to fight. And Bhagwan Krishna also, he could have said, just shut up and fight. And then we will see. Whatever questions you have, we will address it at the end of the war. He doesn't say meditate. He doesn't say, I will give you a mantra and all will be fine with you. He doesn't give him tips on war strategy. He talks to him about dharma. And he talks to him about shreyas, that is moksha. So one of the big takeaways is that in modern society, there is little too much focus on rights. Rights are important, but they're just one side of the coin. And only if I fulfill my right as a teenager, let's say, if I fulfill my responsibility towards my parents, at whatever age and stage, then my rights as a child are likely to be fulfilled. So every script, every role, every relationship comes with an unbound script. Nobody's going to really tell you what to do, but our script is the script of dharma. So what is the purpose of every relationship? It's important for us to ask that question. It's such an obvious question, but nobody asks that. So it's likely to be love and support and care for the other person, or contributing to the other person's happiness and to the person's growth. So whether it is a friend, or it is your parent, or it is your grandparent, let's say, what are you expected to do? And while the common theme of care, support, contribution to the other's happiness is common, the responsibilities in every role differs. And we all know that when we have ticked whatever is on our to-do list, there is so much relief. There is a great deal of achievement and happiness. And the Gita highlights again and again that all our roles are important. So generally we become unidimensional. So if one has a girlfriend or a boyfriend, then, whole life revolves around that, at least that is that particular phase. Or if one has just started to work, then everything revolves around that. And we tend to be neglectful of other responsibilities, other roles. And again, Bhagwan teaches us to have balance, because there is a sacred debt, sacred rinam in all our relationships. So we follow the script of dharma. And if we do that, we're not trying to be goody-goody. We're not trying to be extra spiritual. We are just aligning with what is our natural center. And so if these are your core values, achievement, discipline, and of course, these can be in different grades and measures, then one is not going to only apply it at work. If one is, like generosity is an important dharmika value, I will obviously, and that is my center, then I will bring it to all areas of my life. It's not only going to be unidimensional. And so the emphasis on dharma being your center, and hence you can have it all: wealth, career, partner, children, whatever you want, is all doable, and there is a lot of balance in life. Because it's important for us to see, if I am consumed by any of them, either by my children, consumed, obsessed, my whole life, just, I'm only thinking and ruminating about them, let us leave that to the cows, okay? They can ruminate. Human beings need not do this excessive rumination. So then all other relationships suffer, and then I would not be doing my dharma. Another important learning is where Bhagwan Krishna says, be a bandhu. be a friend to yourself. Don't be a ripper. Okay, not Jack the Ripper, but don't be an enemy to yourself. And this is, it doesn't require a special practice. It's just being kind to yourself, because, nonstop we are chatting with ourselves. So as you're driving, walking, sitting, talking, even talking to someone else, there is this furious commentary that's going on in your head. You're evaluating, you're reminded of something, and all this goes on. And all that is being said is, when you are talking to yourself, just be kind. Because for any pursuit, you of course need a friend, and most importantly, you need an internal friend. You can't be too self-critical, because then, how do you have any kind of peace? Then, of course, this whole teaching of karma yoga. So karma yoga is not a special action. It is a disposition that you bring to all your roles. So this serenity prayer is a very nice prayer that captures the spirit of karma yoga. And, as life moves on, I'm guessing most of you all have played the game Snakes and Ladders. If you haven't, this is the board game. It's very interesting, because the thing about karma is that it is not linear. So you actually move up, you move from 1 to 10, 1 to 100, all the way here, and then you're considered the winner of the game. Now, the point is that as you keep moving, as you roll the dice, and suppose 3 comes and you move and so on, anytime you can get a ladder, and that is our ladder of punya. So a windfall, a fantastic friend, a partner, admission into the university of your choice, etc., etc. And you keep going. You what do? You just keep doing your karma. You keep doing your best action, your very competent action, aligning with dharma. But then you find you go to the university, and then there's a lot of bullying and ragging, and maybe, let's say, Hindu phobia. So now there is a ladder there. And then now one has to deal with the bullying, right? You can't escape it. So then what does one do? One will obviously look at what all options one has in terms of one's competence, because we want to be able to align our karma with dharma. So karma yoga is karmasu kaushalam. Kaushalam is not just effectiveness in action, because by that standard, every cyber criminal would be a great karma yogi, but that term will not apply, because obviously is not aligned with dharma. So here, in addition to how you perform your karma, if I only focus on doing my best, I will have burnout. Because who decides what is my best? And I always feel I've never done enough. So then, recognizing that the laws of karma are pervaded by Bhagwan, and therefore whatever comes from Bhagwan is prasad. So like we would have gone to different temples, and the unique cultural practice that we have is of receiving prasad from the Pandit. So the arti is done, you are waiting in queue, and the Pandit comes out, he offers the arti plate so that you can bless yourself, allow Bhagwan to bless you. And he may give you like a tulsi leaf or sanctified water, tirtha, or a laddu, or some bhasma, sacred ash. So he could give you anything, he may not give you anything. But the attitude with which we receive it is of gracious acceptance. Why? Because it came from the altar. Earlier, who would care for a leaf? But oh, this is tulsi leaf. Oh, today is Ekadashi. Oh, I take it as a sign of blessing. It has come to be from the altar. It is a blessing. And this cultural practice is what we extend to all of our lives. So the people in my life, the situations in my life are coming from the altar of Bhagwan, and I start to look upon it as prasad. So gracious acceptance. And of course, gracious acceptance, you still have a choice to engage with it, because karma is not just karma and karma phala, result. You're constantly engaging with the person, with the situation, and so on and so forth. But competent action and gracious acceptance, and also the wisdom to know the difference. So if you've been married for 20 years and you say, oh, now I've learned to accept this person because I cannot change the person, when soon, better late than never, so in addition to this, this is a very important takeaway from the Gita. And again, dependent, irrespective of age and stage, how can I have mastery over my mind? So there are so many verses, and a lot of us try to manage our anger, but Gita tells us don't even bother. Yes, your anger needs to be managed, but your anger is related to the intensity of your desire. And it all starts very harmlessly. You fancy someone, and then you start daydreaming and imagining, oh, life would be wonderful with this person, and etc., etc. And then, of course, a lot of these sandcastles in one's head. And then you make plans about how you're going to approach the person. And then you find out that that person is already romantically involved. So now the person who was the source of great joy for you when you would see her in school, now, oh my God, now I hate her. I'm so angry. I want to break her neck or whatever it is, okay? This anger has come because of the intensity of desire. And then when anger comes, all that we have learned is lost to us. I don't know of anyone in this world who, when at his or her most angry phase, has done the greatest of actions. Okay, all of us regret what we say, what we do when we get angry, because our learning gets clouded. And so there are different ways in which we can master our mind. I'm not using the word control, because mind is anyway an antakarna, inner instrument. It has been given to us for a reason. It is a glorious instrument, and we can attain mastery. Then, like Anirudh rightly said, that there will be phases in all our lives when we are stuck, and we have done enough of self-diagnosis and self-medication. We are experiencing the symptoms of sadness and anger and angst, perhaps depression, and nothing is working. And then that's when one has some humility and says, hey, I can't handle this alone. I need to approach a mentor or a guru. And here we find that in Arjuna, who was again a very accomplished warrior, but who had the humility to recognize that. And we also see the transformation of Arjuna in the Gita when he declares himself as a Shishya. So I am somebody who's worthy to be taught. I want Shreyas. Krishna, please tell me what that is. Please tell me what dharma is, and so on. And another big takeaway from the Gita, especially in these times when we are dealing with so much polarization and so much bitterness, and we struggle to accept the other, whether the other is another gender or has another orientation, or just the fact that that person likes apples and I like oranges. And so therefore I want to cancel that person. So this is ridiculous, what we have come to. But seeing that all names, all forms are sacred, they are a manifestation of Bhagwan. There are verses and verses on this. And finally, one can live in the world and at the same time be free from the world, just like the lotus. So the teaching about the fact that I am much more than the body and mind. I actually am the Atma. The body mind is just an instrument. It's just like old clothes. I'm going to leave behind. Nobody can take them. I can't rent it out. And I will keep moving from lifetime to lifetime until I discover that I was always free. I was the limitless Atma. So lots of takeaways, lots of teachings from the Gita. but I've just focused on 10, for us to appreciate that at every age and stage, one can learn from the Gita. And what I have found in my life, and all the people who learn the Gita also say, that every time you return to the Gita, there is a greater depth, and you think like, oh, wow, this is fantastic. And actually you have grown. And so your vision is now with the Gita vision. And then when you look at life, there's so much more cheer, so much more happiness. And you also become a force to reckon with. So all in all, it's a treasure that we have been given. And treasures don't exist only in museums or in our lockers. This is a living oral tradition, also textual now. And we do what we can to preserve it. So with that, I will close and pray for everyone to join me. And then after that, we take questions. Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukh abhag bhavet. Om shanti shanti shantihi. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
Thank you for that, Swami Niji. Nice takeaways and broad kind of outline. So let me, if you have questions, you can put them in the Q&A box. Anirudhji, I'd love to have you interact with Swami Niji, maybe back and forth a little bit if you have any takeaways or questions. But let me drop into the chat. We've got this Gita Pariksha coming up. That's going to be an in-person exam in North Carolina, hosted and organized by the Friends of HUA North Carolina chapter. We're looking to do more of these in other places if it ends up working out. And there's going to be a $25,000 prize pool for that. And then the next link is that Growing Up with the Gita. That's the course that we are going to be offering. So please take a look at that. And Anirudhji, did you, I appreciated that presentation from Swami Niji. Did you have any questions, any takeaways that you want to give feedback or keep the conversation going in to our audience as well?
Yeah, I love the part where you told about the Atma and the soul and about the gurus. Yeah, like I feel like that's a really important part of the Gita, and it's probably one of the more prominent parts. And I also take a lot of inspiration from that too. So thank you for that.
Great. Henichi, the presentation, I don't think it will be available, but we'll share the link, the recording of this webinar with everyone who attended. Kumuji, you want to ask a question? Okay. Got some nice comments in the chat. All right, let's see what Kumuji has to say. I actually don't see her any. All right, Kumuji.
Yeah, thank you, Ankur. So yeah, I just wanted to share my experience because I too grew up in outside of India, and I grew up reading and studying the Bhagavad Gita, and just that experience itself was so what should I call it, spiritual and memorable that, one second please. It was so memorable that I still carry that with me. And this Anirudh, he's in Fremont, and I used to live in the Bay Area for about 12 years, and I took a class on Gita in Fremont. We used to meet once a month, so that was very nice. So I think that, even if you have any, if you have any kind of experience that is like that, especially when you grow up outside of India, yes, it does cause a lot of questions, but it's a nice experience, and I think that's a nice thing to learn. So I just want to share that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Does anybody have any questions, comments? I see Kalika ji has joined us, Dr. Uttarkar. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully Lynn got her audio stuff corrected. Yeah, so I wish I grew up with the Gita, like having that opportunity, and now, at an older age, coming to it and all the things that we talked about, right? Every time you come to it, you can find more, and there's so many layers to it and how to apply it. So I appreciate that Hindu University of America is also presenting the Gita from so many perspectives, right? We've got the Bhagavad Gita through Sanskritam. We've got this growing up with the Gita. We have different ways and angles of approach so that we can share the Bhagavad Gita with more and more people. Do we have anything else that we want to get at? Some Q&As? Okay. NHG, of course, you are welcome. Oh, here, Basji has a question. Bas from Florida, thank you for joining us. We are often told that our karma helps us reach moksha, and that if our karma is not good, we can be born again as a lower being. So I'm wondering, now that you said that dogs do not have karma, so humans have karma, but other animals do not, if you want to discuss that a little bit.
Okay. I've noticed that Kalika ji has unmuted, so I wasn't sure if she wanted to respond, or shall I?
Well, I just want to, I won't be able to come on the video, but excuse me for that. But I want to thank you, Swami Niji, for such a wonderful webinar and very heart-touching and enlightening insights that you have come up with. A lot of learning from my side. And I want to congratulate Aniruddha for his achievement and the way he has developed himself, and he is into Bhagavad Gita. He's an inspiration for the new generation, and looking forward to meet him sometimes, and very inspiring. Thank you, Ankurji. It has been a wonderful experience. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Kalika ji.
Okay, so I'll respond to that question. Also, by the way, one secret that we must reveal is that Kalika ji and is it Sarvottam?
Yep,
They will
Shri
be the
Ram
faculty for this course. I was just stepping in because they were not able to do this webinar today. So yes, so now about the question. See, dogs, animals are referred to as Papa Yoni. Okay, so they are beings that have come about because a lot of Papa, karma that was not aligned with Dharma fructified in their life, because, a jiva, an individual, moves from lifetime to lifetime with this whole fixed deposit of punya and papa. So depending on what fructifies, one takes a birth. And let's say you have a pet dog. The pet dog has obviously taken birth, and he or she is programmed. Okay, there is no power of choice. That's why we call it a Papa Yoni, that, choice is such a gift. But a dog cannot decide whether I want to eat a cutlet or an omelette every morning. Cannot decide, should I do dharma or not do dharma. If I want to have polyamorous relationship, I am free. I am, this is how I am, and that's it. Human beings are not like that. Okay, so we will think and we will ruminate and so on, because power of choice is there and dharma is there. So we are not saying dogs are lesser beings, no, but that they cannot. So however loyal the dog is, let's say he's a sniffer dog, okay, he's managed to sniff out a lot of parcels for terrorism, etc., managed to nab a few, is he going to get extra brownie points of punya? No, unfortunately, because it is a sharira, it's a medium, it's a form where he has to experience not having choice. And therefore, so much emphasis on making the right choice, making the right decision, being backed with knowledge, wisdom, and so on, because our choices in time become our destiny. So that's what the thing is, right? Okay.
Thank you. Interesting. Tejasji is asking about the Gita Pariksha. It is going to be multiple choice, but it is in person in North Carolina on August 12th. So that particular Gita Pariksha is hosted by the Friends of HOA North Carolina to increase engagement in that geography. But if people want to go to North Carolina or you happen to be there, you could take that test in person. And if Tejasji, if you want to help organize one in your local area, we are looking to do that depending on how traction and engagement that we can get. Thank you. All right. I don't have any more open questions. Now is your time to ask. Any comments are welcome. And otherwise, we can have some closing thoughts. Anirudhji, you want to go first? Just in terms of your experience, how you thought about this, and what you're doing next. Like, oh yeah, I'm curious. What are you planning on doing next? Where are you going with this?
Yeah, so I had a great time today. Thank you for having me today. And with Bhagavad Gita, I am planning in the recent future, in the soon future, I'm doing the Gita Pariksha because my mom introduced me to it. I'm doing the Gita Pariksha. I'm also in the course, and hopefully after that I can do a few more avatarams, performances, and hopefully pass it on to the next generation, because I feel like the next generation is going to need it, because my generation itself, we're very we're crazy, you know. And I think if our generation's like this, I have no idea what the next generation is going to be like. So we have to mellow it down a bit. So I just want to pass it on to the next generation. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Good. Yeah, I feel that too. You know, pass it on to the next generation, pass it to my own generation. You know, folks like us in America, we're kind of the outliers right now, and we need to not just the next generation, but bring our cohorts, I feel, and that's a big part of it as well. So thank you for that, Anirudhji. Definitely looking forward to your next accomplishments. Swami Niji, to you now to close us out, please.
Just before this webinar, I was having my Gita class, and we're just finishing the 12th chapter and having a discussion around it. So I'm definitely going to tell them about you, Anirudh, and you're such an inspiration. Traditionally, we memorize, we learn, and then you walk around with that wisdom, and then you unravel the meaning. This is how it's done traditionally, and you've got such a solid foundation. And so what I would like to end with is what is mentioned in the tradition, that all of us get an opportunity for Ishvara Kripa, Shastra Kripa, and Atma Kripa. What do I mean by that? So Kripa is grace or blessing, that all of us, if indeed one wants to learn the Gita, there is Shastra Kripa. That the teachings are there to bless us, to guide us, to elevate us, to inspire us, inform us, and all of that to great heights. But Shastra always comes along with the Guru. That's the package deal. What do we do now? So having that grace and blessings to find the right person who can guide you is very important. Let's say I have the Guru Kripa, but I don't have Ishvara Kripa. I'm so caught up with a lot of responsibilities. So I need grace from Bhagwan to be able to complete whatever I take on as my pursuits. And most importantly, I need Atma Kripa. I need to bless myself. I need to recognize that I am worthy, and not just because I'm using L'Oreal. You know, no, I'm not worth it only because I am using L'Oreal. I am worth it, and I want to make the best of my life. And I bless myself for this important learning, which will totally transform my life. And you have to see it to believe it. You have to test it out to allow this transformation to take place. And so my prayers that anyone who watches this continues their commitment to the Gita. And if you're a beginner, then you actually wade into the waters and enjoy. Om Tat Sat.
Dhanyawad. Thank you everyone for joining our webinar of the week, and we'll see you next week, hopefully. Maybe in a course, maybe online. Thank you for being here with Hindu University of America again. Dhanyawad. Namaste.